what are some of the leadership mistakes that you're seeing organizations make right now in like sort of the rapid race to adopt AI?
Among many different ones, just a few that comes atop of my head. Like clearly, there's a FOMO around AI, a fear of missing out. So everyone's like, we got to do AI, we got to bring in AI. And an interesting angle, while I am like in the AI realm, they call them like the AI optimist, AI pessimist, right? The AI, another one book called it the AI boomers, the AI doomers. I don't know which realm you're part of. I'm on the optimist side. I think we can steer this with good values for good for humanity. And I'm aware of the watch outs and dangers. What about you?
Sure. I'm on the optimist side, but again, I sort of have a caveat that I don't really like that the power right now is concentrated in so few hands.
Ditto on that. Yeah, and instead, like this can end up very wrong, and hence
Yeah.
like it can lead to a dystopian scenario, a utopian scenario. Reality is going to be somewhere in between, probably. But the watch out is that with this FOMO that we got to put AI everywhere is not efficient, not humane, and what we're
Mm.
many organizations are missing, not change management, but they're missing stability management. Now, stability management is an aspect of identifying not just core values of who we are as an organization, our core product service. What do we need to stabilize and keep doing? From an engineering thinking, right? There's the start doing, stop doing, continue doing. There are some things that we got to keep doing. So about our culture, what are the elements of our culture that makes us us? What are some of our existing leadership principles that makes us us? What are our best leaders in our organization? Not outside advice, but let's find the best spots, best leaders in our organization, and let's own our culture so that there's a stability management which anchors people in the ever accelerating transformation. So that's one of the watch outs I would put out there, that let's balance transformation management with stability management, and leaders need to stay in that paradox, the dilemma of which one, both that. There's going to be both transformation and stability, and leaders need to role model both.
That reminds me of a study that is probably like 25 years old now, but they were looking at strategic change, and and I can't remember the authors right now, but basically the finding was the way that they could actually move people into like really changing an organization from what it is today was to tie the future vision to who they were in the past and show that thread. So it was changing without change, which is what the terminology that you're using is this is stability, which that's finding that thread, but all around that thread is driving sort of the path that you're taking. It's the filter on the field of options, like, okay, this is who we are, this is what we believe in, and how does that play out if we want to be over here?
Yeah, that's great. I love that. The organization has a psyche, right? The cells of the
Mm.
body working together as a body, and that ability to connect past, present, and future. It's a great leadership skill on being. It's an ability to see. So we mostly, again, another watch out is, so yes, leaders need to cultivate foresight, future outlook, and thinking and understanding. But there is this value in understanding, and how does it connect to our past and present as well? And when it's not connected, that's when there's this fakeness to technology adoption. There's this pretend. There's this. I love that. Yeah. And similarly, I think the idea of, like, I'm not a trauma expert, but I know well that there's something called corporate trauma, and the corporate experiences, the disruptions, the change. It does bring us as types of traumas, and many individuals are getting traumatized in the pace of change in AI and transformation and so on, because it's not being managed that great.
Well, and I think like there's just a lot of fear around like where like to me when I think about AI, like I'm just like everybody else. Nobody really knows the extent. We all recognize its existence changing. Like what we are today will be drastically different than 10 years from now because AI, but we don't know how. But the thing that kind of gives me peace is like we all are going to exist. And there is going to be some sort of reconciliation between all of us needing to be able to exist and AI changing everything. And so we may have to really adapt, but, and in fact, I expect that we'll have to really adapt, but we're all in the same boat. Like
Exactly.
The democratization not only of information, but the democratization of risk.
Exactly. And that's why I like reminding a lot of leaders and their perspective of perception of AI is still like similar to AI as a technology, as if they were adopting a CRM or an ERP. But it's not. It's something different. That it's evolving the whole operating system, the business model, and the culture model. And people need to see different type of leadership. It's not just you can't rah into AI and you got to walk the walk. You got to role model the human AI collaboration. You got to think about ways of not just budget cutting and saving, but value creation. I think one of the big is you ask like what is some of the mistakes I'm seeing. Another aspect is that seeing AI is just as a cost cutting tool to cut down on humans, and
Yeah.
that's a dehumanizing and it's a bit of, I don't want to call it the dark side, but it is like not a pleasant side of it. But the idea is that an organization that can shift the needle on how do we create value and how do we repurpose? And there are several organizations, like one of them being IKEA, for example, as IKEA start to notice some productivity gains, and instead of the downsizing, they looked at the workforce and where the need was, and that there was more need to advise clients on the home design and the kitchen and cabinet design and so on. So they retrained instead of like the 10 to 20% of their workforce, instead of downsizing, they retrained them into being better at AI usage and customer centric and client centered services, which started to bring more revenue on the top line instead of the cost cutting. So that's another one. So one mistake is that stability and transformation. Another one is AI a cost cutting tool or a value creation tool? So I want to remind, like, let's think about how to create value with it, not just feed into the fear. And many CEOs are using this. They're using AI for the short term financial gain, the short term financial focus. It's and some of the AI leaders have called it out, right? So Nvidia's CEO as well. He said CEOs are just using this as a tool. It's not always productivity gain from AI. They're just trying to save bottom line or just show more profits and so on, which is not cool.
Yeah, and you I think also one of the things that's been out, I think it might have been the Nvidia CEO who said it, but like not only are they, probably misusing it in terms of trying to cut costs, but there there's a degree of actual potential lying, shall we say? Like, are they, is it really that they cut the labor force because AI took the jobs, or because they needed to anyway and now they're using sort of AI as a socially acceptable excuse to do it?
Yeah, well
And
said.
we're hearing the stories that like the cost cutting is happening and then people like things are falling apart, and you can't completely get around that. So, and on that note, what are the things that you think, like what's your guess about like the things that we do as leaders that can't be replaced by AI?
This is an interesting question because I am like while I have the researcher hat and entrepreneur hat, I also have deep in my heart and soul a philosopher side and a contemplative side. I do think about these. I try to understand and think in very much future oriented, future of humanity. Right? I have genuine concerns and visions, and I contemplate like what differentiates us from machines and AI, and how do we keep that. And one interesting story. So this is in 2023 when the Sphere opened, and in the lobby of Sphere they have some of the new robot AIs, and this was a little bit before the ChatGPT 3.5 launch, so not as mainstream as it's now. And I bring my family and my son. We're having a conversation with the robot AI Aura, and Ara is like looking around and kind of chatting with a few people, and it's kind of a female voice, and so it notices my son and kind of looks down and say, "Oh, we have a little human being. We have a young person with us. So what is your name?" And she asks his name, and he mentioned it, and he said, "Am I pronouncing it correct?" And kind of re-asked it. And I was like, "Ooh, already like many people are not sensitive enough to ask about if they're pronouncing their name correct or not." And then she asked my son, like, "So what would you like to be when you grow up? Do you have any plans and ideas?" And he says something like, "I want to be in computer science and I love computers." And then she has a bit of that mechanic smile. It's like a smile. She's like, "Oh, I have many computer scientists working with me. Maybe we'll work together in the future." And I remember my son's eyes glowing, and he got so excited. And so this robot, whether it was clearly afterwards I googled it, like, are there people that are like talking through Aura? Is it real AI or not? And yes, it's real AI, real robot. And but it was showing forms of empathy. Now, is that real empathy or not? Like that's clearly debatable, right? They don't.
But
And
it
then I got
makes you feel like it.
yeah, yeah. And so I had a chance to talk to Aura and include immediately went down my geeky pathway and started asking emotions. Do you feel emotions? Do you think you're going to ever feel emotion? It was very logical in the sense of no, I don't feel emotions like you do. I don't think I will feel it like you do. Yet I can understand. I'm learning to read humans' emotions and understand, and I'm trying to help you understand your emotions better and so on. So and kind of the empathy it was showing, the interest it was showing, it was way ahead than many human beings. So I find that very interesting on this idea, and we do need to think about what do we bring to the table. Like, it can clearly mimic empathy, and that is a watch out on how people, and clearly some people are mixing it with like real human conversations and not. Now, not all AIs are at that level, but it is a watch out to think about what are leaders bringing to the table. And from the research that I've done, as I mentioned, like one of my key findings in my last 5 years of research, and this is like a strong insight in my opinion. We all have been hearing about lead with purpose, 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 why. Simon Sinek, start with why, right? It's been
Yeah.
like a mantra now. But here's an interesting thing. In my research, I found that people care less about the organization's purpose. Let me pause on that. And if in the sentences on understanding organizational culture, the ones that were around organization's mission, vision, purpose, they dropped off. They were not significant. What does that mean? But here's the catch. I found that the purpose went one level down in a good way to the leader's purpose. Is my leader purposeful? Is my leader embodying the organization's purpose? So the purpose from a slogan mantra on the wall on the web page that leaders share but don't model is out. What's in is actual leadership embodiment, role modeling. So the difference in whether the words are empathy and compassion and kindness and those human skills, let's it's and we can. But the idea is that a leader's genuine, authentic role modeling. So the being, our ontology, is I think what's going to be the differentiator. Um, and there will be moments of I do think AI will come into counseling, into coaching, into HR work. It will. It's not going to be just like a AR chatbots around. It will come, but the leadership being, the presence, is still going to be our strongest asset in bringing to the relationship.
Interesting. I see what you're saying. I I've always thought about it a little bit differently in that like the vision and the purpose of the organization is there so people can figure out where they plug into it. But I get what you're saying in that it's actually really helpful to see somebody else plug into it so then you can figure out how you plug into it. And so the leader role modeling it is probably a necessary like mediator or at
It's
least a
all
helpful one.
Yeah, exactly. And all things aside, this clearly doesn't take away from, and clearly the organizations, we need a North Star. We need a map on what we're
Mm.
going towards, even if it's aspirational, right? So it doesn't take away from an organization having its core framework, mission, vision, values, purpose, etc. And yes, purpose. But the thing is that what brings meaning, what makes people truly understand purpose is that when they see leaders embodying it and noticing, so this is what our purpose actually means. And from the focus groups and qualitative data, again, some of the things I quoted, as I looked into it, I find it as a very fascinating fact. And it was about people's tiredness. So this is North American data, English speaking, UK, Canada, and US, and data collection. And from age groups from 18 to 65, I also get asked, like, is it the millennials, is it the Gen Z or Y, or et cetera? It was all 18 to 65. There's a tiredness from leaders that uh, uh, pretend or say something and do something else themselves. So there is this desire, and the term is not new, right? Authentic leadership, genuine leadership, trust, right? Those works, those concepts, they were just in so deep need to make sense of the corporate world and why are we. And since COVID, all of us, we all had this existential wake up on what's important in life. Oh my God, all of us might die in a year if something happened, right? So with that, we all started to question the purpose of work, meaning of work. Why am I working for whom and why and so on. So from that, it turned into a bit more from following meaningful, purposeful organizations. It might be it's less so of its organization's purpose. It's about working for leaders that are genuinely walking the walk.
It's funny. Over here on the U.S. side of the border, we're already knee deep in sort of the midterms. Like, like primaries are happening. And the other day I was listening to something, and I'm not going to get into politics, but, there are a few candidates who are rough, right? Like, say things that you would, on the surface, would not be endearing, but they're endearing to the people who want to vote to them because they feel like it's very real. And at this moment in time, it's just this weird moment where people are so tired of polished and performance that when they see the roughness, they automatically take that as sort of being authentic, which it may not. It still may be performance. But so it's just like, I don't know, just what you said. And I think it triggered that thought, like what I was listening to the other day, that, yeah, there is a real craving for authentic, but what we're doing.
What type of
Yeah, right. Like, are we
Good point.
making a mistake? Are we making a mistake in what we think is authentic right now? Because there's, there's some role modeling going on in leadership that, like, people could be picking it up as performance.